This is a bit where I
know.
If I don't make it, will you tell my wife I love her? So to accept that, to know that you're not going to make it, and I just remember saying to myself, you've got one job to do now, and it's to make sure that Eve gets out.
You're right.
Yeah.
So you're at the concert.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave this as an open question now.
All right, mate.
You're at the concert. The concert's finished. Is that right?
Yeah, so let me just...
Yeah, because it's going to be hard, is this? It's going to be...
Yeah, so I might just...
I'm already feeling... I can feel like a dinosaur sat on my chest.
Yeah, I know.
There's so much I want to bring out and what I want to say, so I'm going to leave it open to you, but just take us from... and talk about anything you want to.
Yeah, of course.
Take us from when, it's finished, lights go up, curtains go down, or whatever you want to call it. Everyone's clapped and everyone starts to leave, or, that moment.
Yeah. Well, I'll go a bit before that, if that's all right, because it's important.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think that it was a weekend, and it wasn't. It was a Monday night. And she was coming up to mock exams. So part of the thing, like obviously, and I don't know if you've been to MEN Arena, but whoever built it and whoever put it there needs bloody shooting.
It's a crap location, isn't it?
It's awful. And I've been in that car park for an hour afterwards. Now, because we were in a box, we'd got VIP parking, and it was like near the exit. So because it was a Monday, and we know like with American singers, they're never on time, it was going to be a late night. And I had like my ex, Eve's mum, I said, don't be bringing her home, like, blah, 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 blah. So I knew we'd have to leave early. So we'd agreed that we'd leave during the encore.
Right, yeah.
Miss the rush.
Yeah.
Peg it to the car, and then we'd be out.
Yeah.
Get her home, and Bob's your uncle. So that was the plan. So we drove into Manchester. I picked her up from school. She went home, got changed, and then we drove into Manchester, parked up, and then because it was a beautiful day, went to our favourite restaurant, San Carlo. Had a lovely meal. That's where the infamous picture is. Of
I've seen the picture. Yeah,
that were 4 hours before we were fighting for our lives.
Yeah.
So that were at 6:30. And then we headed over to the arena. I think it was about 7:30-ish, 8 o'clock-ish when we got there. And then went through the VIP entrance, and they took us to the box, and she loved it. It was the first time she'd been in a box, so she loved it. That she goes like, "Oh, can I just go and get a can I?" And I was like, "Yeah, whatever you want." Like she couldn't get her head around it. You're like, "You don't have to pay for it." No, you just, if you want a drink, you just get
Daddy sorted this out.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It was just like, literally, I don't know if you've been to MEN like in a box, but like
not in a box.
You have like a room like this where there's like where you can eat, and there's a bar, and you can chill out, and then you go out into like almost like a balcony with seats on it, and the stage is like there.
Right.
So she's like, "Oh, Daddy, this is like amazing." I'm like thinking, this was worth the fact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then some, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm just there going, yeah.
I'll smash this.
Yeah. But it was a Christmas present. I like look on her face, and she was just, we were just like proper proper dad dancing, and it was an amazing concert. But my memory from that night, obviously before we were injured, and like I've been in some of the biggest football grounds around the world. I was there in '99 for the cup final against Bayern Munich, and bearing in mind there was only, I think, say 15,000 people. When Ariana Grande came out, I've literally, my eardrums like burst. I've never heard a piercing sound like it.
Like
literally
and
15,000 girls,
teenage girls screaming.
Yeah.
I had to cover my ears. Like I was like, what the hell? Like I almost felt like when a dog whistle, when dogs go like cock their heads. It was almost like, what the hell is this? Like I heard something that humans shouldn't hear. Do you know what I mean? And that's that, when people say, "What do you remember from night?" It's that.
Yeah.
It's the power of the voice.
And it's almost where you couldn't even hear her sing.
Yeah.
Like those first couple of songs, like I've paid £500 and I'm not going to hear her sing because she's got an amazing voice.
You can have a free Coke though.
Well, exactly. You know what I mean? And that's what I remember. And yeah, it was a great concert. And then, like I say, guttingly, I remember like having to like almost pull Eve away.
Yeah.
You know, so I wish I'd have kind of gone, oh, sod it, we'll stay. So yeah, so like 10:30 came, and we kind of left, and we were kind of walking through the city room, and 10:31, and just heard an almighty bang, and I'm on the floor, seeing Eve with looked like a bullet had gone through her head, brains all over the place. And I'm choking on blood, and I know something serious has happened. Obviously, I didn't know I'd been hit like 22 times, but I knew I was dying, and I knew, well, I was watching Eve die in front of my eyes, and it was to see that. It's the picture that unfortunately I go to sleep to, and it's just ingrained, and to go through that, to see your daughter dying, in front of your eyes, it's the worst thing. But I remember, obviously when obviously people started coming in, and the guy that were looking after me, he was kind of keeping me talking and stuff. And I remember saying, it's like, where are the paramedics? And he was like, they're coming. But, we were there an hour, we know now, so with the inquiry and stuff. But I remember saying to Chris, the security guard that were looking after me, I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it, Chris. And I said, like, if I don't make it, this is a bit where I know. If I don't make it, will you tell my wife I love her? So to accept that, to know that you're not going to make it, and I just remember saying to myself, you've got one job to do now, and it's to make sure that Eve gets out.
You're right.
Yeah.
Did you know that at that moment? Sorry, mate. Can you make me go?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Did you know that at that point, Ree, your daughter, did you know she was still with you, or did you not know?
Well, they put a blanket over her at one point, which obviously came out of the inquiry, because if it wasn't for me, she probably would have been left with a blanket on her. But I'd said to him, look, she's still breathing. So thankfully they took it off. But we'll save that for another time, obviously, because the inquiry's going on and stuff.
Did you? I've listened to some of your interviews before. With the job I used to do, I've been around a lot of things that have gone bang, or a lot of explosions, or a lot of gas canisters, cars, things in houses that have popped or blown. At what point did you actually think or knew it were like an explosive device? Or at what point did you actually think, you didn't know it were, but you didn't know what had actually gone on?
Yeah, I think it was that. I just felt like I'd been hit by like a truck. Like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't I literally couldn't catch my breath. Obviously that was the shrapnel and everything else, but I just remember falling to the literally like a ton of spuds. You know what I mean? Like just hit the ground. Probably knocked myself unconscious. Kept all my teeth, thankfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember like waking up, like not really being able to move.
Were you in any pain?
No. I wasn't in any pain. And this is the thing, I wasn't panicking, I wasn't worried. I could see I was losing a lot of blood, and I could feel my body shutting down. So I knew I was dying.
Yeah.
But I just knew, I didn't think I was going to get out, but I was adamant. It was Eve basically keeping me alive. I knew that if I closed my eyes, that'd be it. And it was just literally like my mind and body telling me to go to sleep, and just fighting that. And knowing that Eve had to get out. So one of the last things I see is kind of being moved and knowing that Eve's in good hands now, and that's kind of like I've done my job, and that's it. That's when I think the curtains come down, and then I wake up in intensive care a couple of weeks later.
Did the paramedics take Eve before they took you, or did
I thought they'd taken Eve first, but it wasn't until thankfully the inquiry allowed me to see the footage afterwards.
Right.
And actually, they took me first.
Right.
Even though I'd said, look, don't leave me, I'm not going to make it, take Eve. But I think because they didn't think Eve were going to make it, they took me because I was still alive and talking. Obviously, at that point, I'd kind of gone, but before it, obviously, I was still breathing and stuff. So I've seen the footage now, and I see, like, the 6 or 7 coppers taking me out on a makeshift stretcher, like a security hoarding.
How was it seeing? So that we've obviously the footage that we've seen that went out into the press, but you've obviously seen the full from start to finish. How was it seeing that again for the first time?
For me, it was good because I fought for years to see it, because I had this. I didn't know what had happened to me from kind of 10:30 until I got to the hospital.
Yeah.
So there was like 3 hours and obviously we know now that some people actually died because they didn't get. And it's like, why have we survived? Given our injuries, when we know like Safi and John Richardson, they both survived, but they went into the clearing bit where I was, and then they passed away. Safi died, unfortunately, at the hospital. So I'd been trying to find out what had happened and what time we got to the hospital, who looked after us, who got us out. But obviously, because of all the security and obviously the police were forming the investigation and the trial, and you'll probably know more than I do, they just wouldn't allow it. And then when they wanted me to give evidence at the inquiry, I just said, look, I'll do it, but I want something in return. I want to see.
You want to know, you want to put
so I ended up going over to headquarters at GMP in Middleton. And yeah, they'd put, basically they went above and beyond, 170 pages. I saw pictures and CCTV, and I literally know everything that happened to us. And since then, I've been sleeping a lot better because I know.
That's helped you.
Because when before that, I was probably getting 2 or 3 hours sleep a night. I'd wake up middle at night in a sweat, and it was just what happened to us. It was just going around my mind all the time. I give myself, and I still do give myself a hard time. Like, did I fail as a dad? Is it my fault because I'd bought us tickets and made us leave early? So I and I still do give myself a bit of a hard time about it. Did I fail as a dad? And it really, because I didn't know what had happened to us, and I just had this vision of Eve being on her own, and it just ate away with me. And I now know that even when I was taken out, she was brought out pretty much after me. We were never more than 10 feet apart, and that's given me a lot of comfort. Because the thought of her being on her own, going to hospital on her own, I can't live with that. Do you know what I mean? And speaking to some of the paramedics and stuff that looked after me on the night, they've given evidence now, and they've said you weren't bothered. Like, even though I don't have any recollection of it, they said all you kept asking was about Eve and where she was, and that's all you were bothered about. Yeah. So that gives me a lot of comfort.
I don't think there's unless people have been through it, I don't think there's anyone can ever feel or have the, how can I put it, the impact that you've had on your life and on your daughter, on her life. But from my aspect, I always say, from my illnesses, I always feel like I failed because of what's happened to me. Looking at from what I've read about you and from what I've seen about you, there's all that stuff you were talking about before of daddy-daughter time. There's people who've just walked out on the kids when the kids are born. There's people that have abused the kids. There's people that have not treated the kids like an animal. There's no way in life you'd have ever failed anybody. It's just a circumstance of events.
I always used to say to Eve, like, when you were me, you're safe. Nothing will ever happen. I just.
It's a control factor, that, though, isn't it? It's like because you want to be in control of your own destiny.
My superhero cape's kind of been ripped a bit, and when I'm with her at weekends and stuff, I do it stabs me in the heart. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like I said to her that she'll always be safe with me, So yeah, hopefully I'll get peace with it, but
You're a good
it's
man,
still
pal.
it's still I still give myself a hard time about
Yeah.
it.
I mean, you've just said there that the paramedics, even though you didn't know about it, they'd said that right up to the very sort of bitter end for you to be taken away, you were still questioning and making sure she were all right. So if anything, you have absolutely lived up to the superhero role.
Definitely.
To be there till at the very point where
I think
hands.
what obviously because I've shielded Eve, I've taken the brunt of it. One bolt got through, and it's just like, how the fuck did that get through? Do you know what I mean? And it's gone. It's like, you know what I mean? I just think like, why couldn't that have hit me? Do you know what I mean? It was just like, I don't even know how it's got through, and for it to do so much damage, you know what I mean? It's just.
Like any, like you said, Ben, that any parent would give anything for the kid, for the kids, wouldn't they?
You know, let it hit me. Do you know what I mean? I'd take it. Do you know what I mean? It's, you know, just for that one bolt to get through and for it to cause so much damage. You know, I just,
I've heard you say previously in interviews that after all that's happened and that one bolt did make it through. The outlook of which the doctors initially gave you said that it's not going to look good. She will be in a vegetative state forever, and that's not the case at all, is it?
No. Well, again, she's a Hibbert, so.
And when I've heard you talk about that, like it gives me goosebumps now. But I just love it because you since meeting you today, you've come in and you've got like this northern grit. And that's the only way I can describe it. You've got this like northern mentality that I love. Like I wish that I want more people to see and hear it. Yeah, because you said I take it. I take it. Look at the position that she's in now. You know, like obviously she's not at all what they initially said, is she?
No. So I don't remember a lot of my time in hospital, but all I was bothered about was Eve. Do you know what I mean? And you know, I remember the first thing I remember a couple of days after was my wife telling me I was all intact. Apparently, I'd asked, have I got all my fingers and toes? That's the first thing I asked. And my dad telling me United had won Europa League final.
It's weird, isn't it? All the stuff comes out.
That's all I remember. And then I remember Gabby saying, Eve's still alive. She's survived. And I was like, really? Because I said, like, she was in, like, such a bit. She went, no, they didn't tell me how serious it was, and that they didn't think, like, the coroner was ringing every day asking for updates because they thought she were going to be number 23. So for a long time, you know, they didn't think she was going to make it. And then I remember as I was coming more round, and obviously I was asking more questions, and Gabby was finding it hard to lie. I remember the two guys walking in white coats, followed by Gabby and my mum, and I knew something was going to be said, and they said, right, suffered a T10 complete spinal injury. Do you know what that means? And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to walk, am I? You know, and they was like, no. And it was like, right, you've got that over with. What do we do next? And they were like, this isn't the usual kind of reaction.
Did you expect that massive impact of what like you said, I'm never going to walk again and start kicking and screaming?
Yeah, I think normally like things get thrown and there's screams and there's effing and jeffing.
Yeah.
And I was just happy to be alive, you know, because like going back to that night, you know, I was in a bad way. Here I've got somebody telling me I've survived, but I'm not going to walk. You know what? I'll take that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And my wife survived as well. Obviously, I didn't know what I know now. You know, I mean, shall I talk about my injuries? Because I think that's important. That's important.
Yeah, I was going to basically say you've got 22 injuries. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Full of shrapnel.
Yeah.
Just go from, obviously, if you can do, from head downwards.
Well, the two. I'll start with the two main ones. The one that they were most worried about wasn't the one that had severed my spinal cord. It was one that had hit me in the side of the neck.
That you swallowed?
Severed two of my main arteries. And I swallowed it. Now, bearing in mind, these bolts were travelling, some of them were travelling at over 100 mile an hour. They left craters in concrete.
Jesus.
Bearing in mind, we were 6 metres away, and I've only found out this recently. One of the people that unfortunately died, I think, was 40 metres away, and she'd suffered one injury that had hit her in the neck.
Wow. Christ.
Now, here I am with 22. One that had severed my spinal cord, one that had hit. That's where all the blood loss. It had severed one and nipped the second one.
So when you said you were
amount of-
losing the blood, that's where
it was literally. I was chalking on it. It was. I've seen the picture and the inquiry, and it's literally. There's like literally a pool of blood like all around you. As I saw the pictures, the pool of blood just got bigger and bigger. There was literally when I got to hospital, there was hardly anything left. They were pumping me with saline solution in the ambulance
just to keep it going through.
Keep it going. So they were the two main ones, and then I had one that went straight through my arm. All these were golf ball sized holes. So I had a hole you could see through my arm.
And what it like you said, were it nuts and bolts? Were it just bolts? Were it nails? What?
Nuts and bolts.
Nuts and bolts.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen it, the X-ray where you can see all bolts in me. And then I've got they were obviously scattered all over my back, all over my buttocks, my legs. It shattered my tibia, my fibia, my ankle, my feet. They went through my shoes that I'd just bloody bought.
What were they?
They were Hugo Boss, like trainer shoes. Literally holes all over my jeans. They've given me my clothes back.
Have you got them? Right.
In a white box. I was a mess, and I've seen the pictures that the hospital took because they've got to take pictures, and I mean they were like this, like golf ball sized holes. Yeah, I was a mess.
Thank you for watching the latest video. If you want to see the full version of it, go to our Patreon channel. And if you want to listen to it for free, go to Spotify now. Thank you.